So is that fair for everyone?
Yes, that's fair.
Okay, great. So what did this hairstyle mean for that decade? Do you want to talk to us about it?
It was a political statement that said, first of all, I'm proud to be a black American. You can be white. I accept my color now. And then in accepting my color, I accept the natural texture of my hair.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts or comments about that? Okay. So what comes to mind when we think of the 1970s? Just going decade by decade to get a small history so we can talk about what's going on now.
Disco.
That's all I could think of.
Okay.
Disco.
Disco, absolutely. Anything else? Woodstock? Maybe, yeah. Absolutely. Anything else?
That 70s show?
Absolutely. Okay.
Well played.
So I put this hairstyle, it's called the cornrows, up for the 1970s. This is when my research shows that this is when this hairstyle became most popular. However, this hairstyle can be traced back to, I think it's West Africa. So I thought that was really interesting. But so the cornrow, sorry, I'm kind of thrown off right now. Okay, so the radical ideas, right, like the civil rights movement, the second wave feminist movement, in the 70s, those began to become pretty mainstream, right? Like it wasn't so radical anymore. The popular hairstyles, afro, cornrows, what did they mean? Have you ever heard of black nationalism and what that means? Any comments about it? What do you all know about that? I saw some head nods.
I've never heard of it. So,
Okay.
can you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw some head nods, so I wanted to give people room to discuss what they know about this idea as well. Okay, but it's that whole idea of black unity, right? And independence from white mainstream society. You look upset.
Huh?
You look upset. Your head's
No,
down.
I didn't want
I was
to
like,
do
do you
all
want
the
to add?
talking.
You can totally add. Please do.
When black nationalism, which probably Malcolm X was probably foremost, who kind of got it rolling in the late 1960s. Yeah. But it was the second resurgence of black nationalism.
Okay, great.
Because that's how the country of Liberia was created in Africa.
Okay,
And
great.
I think it was after the Civil War.
All right. So individuals who wore natural hair, either in an afro or, like I said, cornrows were brought up during this time and made to be a little bit more popular because it was another way to not straighten your hair, right? So it was another way to keep your natural hair. And individuals who rocked these styles were kind of stereotyped and seen as they were assumed to be like black nationalists. They want away from mainstream society. Any questions about that? An important event of the decade that I thought was really important, a reporter, Melba Tolliver, fired from the ABC affiliate in New York for wearing an afro while covering Tricia Nixon's wedding. So that's the daughter of Richard Nixon. So the backlash of afros, the backlash of natural hair, we were feeling it. Any questions about this decade and the hairstyle? Okay, cool. Okay, so 1980s. That's when most of us were born. All of us? Maybe not all of us. Okay, well, I was...
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm an 80s baby. So it's a fairly conservative time. That's kind of when we talk about feeling a backlash in the feminist movement. That was feeling a backlash of the second wave feminist movement. So it was fairly conservative. Popular hairstyles, the jerry curl. My uncle still wears a jerry curl. I'm not joking. So did you know that the jerry curl was invented by a white man? Is that news to anyone? That was news to me.
No.
That wasn't news to you?
Because there are other people, even of European descent, who have kinky, curly hair.
Absolutely. Oh, so but you already know about Jerry Reddy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that was news to me.
I didn't know.
Which I think is fantastic. Yeah. So, I'll tell you a little bit
like
about the
looking.
Jerry curl. It was considered the wash and go, right? So it's a two-part system application, consisted of a softener or a rearranging cream to loosen the hair and a solution to set the curls. So the rearranging cream used pungent chemicals that causing the natural tight curls to loosen and hang. So it's not a very good picture, but I just kind of liked it. It's the wash
The
and
thing
go.
that I think
They look
made
so
Jerry
happy.
curl popular, I even had one at one point, is actually afros. Unless
Oh,
you have
yeah.
the right texture for high maintenance.
Yeah, afros.
Yes,
Okay.
unless you had the right amount of nappiness, it was a high maintenance hairstyle.
Do you want
You
to
had to-
explain what nappiness means?
Okay, it's anybody ever heard of a Jew fro?
Yeah.
Okay, it's even kinkier than that, you know, and so
To get that nice afro that you showed of the big person radical, you had to braid and then put the braids on curls at night and spray it. It was really a high maintenance unless you just had the right texture.
And going back to the afro, I read a story about Angela Davis saying that she used Tide detergent to get it to be as thick and, you know.
If your hair was too soft or the curl was too
So I
loose,
thought
it
that
just
was
wouldn't look
interesting.
nice.
So during this time, have you ever heard of the movie School Days?
Yes.
So this is the movie that quote unquote exposed ideas of good hair versus bad hair. Have you ever heard those terms used? Okay, yeah. And light skin versus dark skin in the black community. So, you know, School Days was released to everyone. So I thought that was interesting. Any questions about this?
So you know that you have good hair.
I know that my hair is
In the
considered
hierarchy, you
Yeah.
have good hair.
And we will talk about that when we talk about what's going on today. Yes.
So, the white man who invented the Jerry curl, why did he invent it? Was it for people of color, or was it for...
That's a really great question, and I don't have the answer.
I think it was for Europeans and you know, basically white women who have very kinky hair, or very, very curly hair,
Yeah.
but it doesn't shine, it doesn't look nice.
Okay.
Great question. Okay, so 1990s. I had to put this picture up here because who doesn't love Moesha?
Woohoo!
Who doesn't, right? Okay, so during this time, I put social, political climate. Okay, so BET, in 1991, BET was the first black-controlled company on the New York Stock Exchange. Hip-hop was considered mainstream. Popular hairstyles that we saw, weaves, Brandy's braids, like everyone was rocking those braids, which is really cool. So what did those styles represent? What do you all think about? What comes to mind when you think about longer weaves and those type of braids?
Well, I think Oprah said it best
Yes.
for my generation, and I was born in the 50s.
Okay, great.
When she got her wig, she said, I finally had that swinging white girl hair that I had envied my whole life as a kid. You know, she had changed, but, and I know what it's like to sit in the classroom and just think of getting your hair pressed on Sunday. And does everyone know what a pressing comb is? Yeah. It's a comb that's kind of like your flat iron, except it actually goes on the flame on the stove. And in the hands of our usually less skilled mom, it meant lots of burns. It was miserable. So that's what Oprah said. It was just nice to have that wash and go hair that you could swing.
Yes.
To me, it's more of an acculturation versus more the like 2000 where it went to like just straight weave, which like simulated white hair. To me, this is kind of like an accumulation where you still have the black style where it's in the braids, but you're getting more length from the weave, so it's kind of like in between. So you can have that flow, but you're still not completely losing your culture.
Okay. And length is very important. So I think it's interesting that, you know, hip-hop is really mainstream, BET is huge, and the length is longer, right? Like, that's really significant.
I remember watching like Sister, and my neighbor, like my mom is a white hairstylist, and my neighbor her mother is a black hairstylist. We were watching Sister Sister one day, and I was like, how is their hair so long? And Rashad was just like, well, it's a weave because I couldn't actually, like, it would take me years and years
Not
and years.
That's their real hair.
That was their real hair?
They're-
Yeah, I was wrong.
they're-
Rashad was
they're-
wrong.
They're biracial, so they
They
have
are?
European
Man,
hair
I'm
as well.
in school now, Sister
So that's why
Sister.
And you can tell your friend.
Yeah, well, I guess she just, like, she said for her it would take her, like, years and years and years for her hair to grow that long. Maybe she has hair that is not.
No,
And
it usually does take a long time for African American hair to grow, but because they are mixed, it doesn't take as long for their hair to grow.
They live or multiracial.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted
Oh, it's
to
okay.
make a statement. Like, just because you biracial doesn't guarantee like long hair or
Absolutely.
whatever. Like,
Or European
or,
style
you
hair.
know, 'cause,
Absolutely.
like I know, like my grandmother, she has really long hair, and she's not biracial or anything like that. But it's
Right.
all about like hair texture. Your genes was like passed down the family, if you will. Because I know biracial people who have short hair too, as well.
Absolutely.
But their hair was like it was natural. It wasn't like a weave in there. Like, it was just theirs.
And I think there is that myth that somehow if you've got black hair and it's pinky or nappy, that it's going to be short. When I look at the women in my family who are black, their hair is long. My hair is actually my real hair. This is my hair. I pay a lot of money for it. My hair is long, but it's very fragile. So I think cutting it, keeping it short was a way for many black women to maintain their hair.
Absolutely.
I also think it starts when you're young, like how your mothers maintain your hair. Because, you know, my hair before I cut it off used to be really long, well, under here. It used to be really long, but my mother also maintained my hair, and she didn't, I don't know if you're going to talk about it later, but she didn't perm my hair until I was in high school. So I think that plays a difference into adding chemicals too young to your hair can damage it, and that can cause it to be short. And I think that's why a lot of women a lot of African American women do have shorter hair or complain about their hair not growing. It's because it wasn't treated properly, so it can grow.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely talk about, well, hopefully, we'll talk about the pressure that parents are under to put relaxers in their really young kids' hair and then the long-lasting effects of that.